be here, and I want to thank ELIAMEP for the kind invitation and also for making possible to meet and see some of the good friends and some ambassadors that are accredited also to Albania. I'm glad to have this opportunity to share with you some thoughts about the importance of the Albanian-Greek relations in the current geopolitical context and why we must not fail to grasp the opportunity that lies ahead of us. We all know how our nations are bound by geography, history and culture, so I'm not going to speak to you about how old Albanians and Greeks are in this corner of Europe. I've decided not to dwell on the Greek colonies in the Illyrian coasts, Albanian colonies in the Middle Age Greece, or the Arvanitas' instrumental role during the Greek War of Independence and their participation in the state-building efforts of the 19th century Greece. I will instead ask for your permission to say things a bit bluntly. The general perception in Albania is that Greece has never fully accepted the creation of the modern Albanian state, whereas the general perception in Greece is that Albanians, as a people, have a hidden agenda aimed at diminishing Greece's clout in the region. My visit to Athens and our discussion here are both attempts to change these perceptions bit by bit. In short, there is still a great deal of mistrust in our relations. This can be, of course, explained. The 20th century has not been very generous, as it has produced a long series of painful and strong feelings. From Albania's viewpoint, one can think of the tragic deportation of Albanian chumps from a period after Second World War, the absurd war law that is still in force today, along with its effects, the heated rhetoric during the communist regime, and more recently, the migratory movements that have defined our social and economic interaction over the past 25 years. The end of the Cold War opened a new chapter. Whilst Albania was getting out of isolation and reconnecting with its neighbors, Greece discovered the opportunity to help shape the region's future. Nevertheless, despite opportunities, the bumpy road we have been through in the past 25 years is a strange mix of progress and setbacks. When I took office in September 2013, our bilateral relations was almost frozen. Mistrust was high, and we had no high-level contacts. I must admit, relations with Greece occupy a special place in my daily work, and I know the same applies to my colleague Nikos Kotsias. In the course of the past 2 years and a half, thanks to what have been qualified as the policy of small steps, we have set the train in motion again and focused on achieving concrete results. The way we resolve the issue of toponyms is an example of concrete work to overcome challenges inherited from the past. Furthermore, several joint committees have resumed work, and both sides agree on the need for quick and substantial progress. This is why I'm here. Partners may disagree, but partners should always work. There are no taboos among us, only issues and challenges. To overcome them, we need mechanisms that can build trust and unleash the positive potential of our relationship. These calls for strategic clarity, political will, and a forward-looking attitude. This is the main message that I convey to all Greek counterparts during this visit. Greece is part of Albania's strategic quadrangular together with Italy, Austria, and Turkey. We had a treaty of friendship and cooperation in place since the 90s, but our bilateral legal framework has not produced the expected positive results. It still fails to acknowledge some hard truth, especially the fact that since 2009, Albania is a NATO member, and since 2014, an EU candidate country. Furthermore, we have a list of issues on which we have not been able to agree. I will divide them in 3 different baskets. First basket, the issues inherited from the past. Here is the most bizarre issue in our relations. the de jure state of war. There is also the issue of sequestrated properties of Albanian citizens in Greece during and after Second World War II. Also important, the human rights issues of the Cham populations and their descendants. In the second basket, the issues of daily importance that include the work of joint bilateral committees as well as consular affairs. In the third basket, the issues that have a defining importance for the future. The delimitation of the exclusive economic zones and continental shelf is, of course, one key issue. But we must not forget about boosting trade relations and work on energy security. I've heard many times, including at the highest levels in Athens, that there is no state of war between the two countries. The argument goes that the state of war is just inexistent, or as many colleagues call it, a relic. Yet the relic is still there. Until today, the royal decree of November 40, establishing the state of war with Albania, has not been abrogated. Yet a similar decree with Italy was terminated a few years after the Second World War II. We cannot be friends and enemies at the same time. This situation is unproductive, ridiculous, and needs immediately remedy. If we are to open a new page in our relations, the royal decree of 40s needs to be abrogated, along with its effects. Before we can build anything substantial, we must first end the Second World War. Such a decision will unleash positive political energy and help transform our strategic importance of our relations into a true, relevant strategic partnership. This is common sense and political realism. Ladies and gentlemen, any talk about our bilateral relations would be incomplete without touching the situation in the region. Europe's geoeconomic context, the refugee crisis, and its spillover effects. Indeed, over the past year, we have witnessed the rise of legitimate concerns about terrorism and migration nexus, the rise of not so legitimate negative stereotypes, the rise of political extremes across Europe, the rise of distrust amongst neighbors and allies. All this at the expense of cross-border cooperation and of a unified European response. Over the past year, we have been cornered between, on the one hand, the values of liberty and solidarity, and on the other, the increasingly illiberal set of policies that are blurring the political debate across the continent. My concern is that the above-mentioned issues have helped downgrade EU enlargement as a second-tier issue, and we are all now feeling the heat of the EU debate about reestablishing borders and the end of Schengen. Nevertheless, as Europe faces a political stress test, Albania and Greece need to grasp the opportunities that lie ahead. During the last years, Greece has been going through serious economic and financial challenges. It has had an impact in the region, including in Albania. A successful and sustained Greek recovery is crucial, not only for Greece itself, but also for its neighbors. As if this was not enough, Greece has also been severely affected by the unprecedented migration crisis. Greece cannot be left alone, because this is not a Greek problem and there cannot be a Greek solution. The recent EU-Turkey deal is a serious effort to the temptation to bring national responses to a pan-European problem. I would like to reiterate that Albania stands ready to be part of a coordinated European response in accordance with our means and capabilities. Even if Albania and Greece have not settled all their differences, we can be sure of one thing. Our countries are bound by the presence of the large Albanian community in Greece and the Greek minority in Albania. The recent Greek economic crisis also hit the population of Albanian migrants in Greece particularly hard, spurring a wave of return to Albania which increased the Albanian labor force by almost 5% only between 2011 and 2014. In a recent study, Harvard scholars have demonstrated how this return migration positively affected the employment chances and earnings in Albania. The employment gains are concentrated in the agriculture sector, where most of the returned migrants find self-employment opportunities and opportunities to run own farms. The study even evidences that businesses run by returned migrants pull Albania from self-employment and subsistence agriculture into formal employment and commercial agriculture. Another study would be needed on the thousands of Greek citizens that are choosing to live, work and invest in Albania. But you get my point. This is the reality of our social and economic interdependence. Our bilateral policies must be up to it. In these times of crisis, it might take sense to turn inwards. While I was going through ELIAMEP's white paper on Greek foreign policy, I couldn't help but think that experts were proposing exactly that, a defensive, inward-looking strategy for Greece. I beg to disagree. I remember very well the 2003 Thessaloniki summit. Greece had a vision for the region, a region fully integrated into the European Union. This is no time to hesitate, nor to wither. I'm certainly happy that my meetings in Athens have confirmed that for Greece. Albania is not just a neighbor, it's a strategic partner. Over the past years, Albania's state-building efforts have energized its role in the region. The advancement of our EU-related reforms has also steered us towards strategic clarity and full foreign policy alignment with that of the European Union. Now, it is crucial for Greece to acknowledge the progress made by the region through a prolonged and painful process of stabilization and peace consolidation. We have managed to create a dense network of regional initiatives that have brought us increasingly together. Now, we are striving to build a true region in economic, political and security terms. The so-called Berlin process, launched by Chancellor Merkel 2 years ago, is acting as a facilitator towards this goal. Even though Europe is living in one of those grey moments which have been further burdened by the migration crisis, Greece must be part of the region's efforts towards the EU and should embrace the new realities in our region. Kosovo is a full part of it. By recognizing Kosovo, Greece would not be taking sides, but would be fulfilling what the Greek foreign policy has been trying to achieve in the region since 2003, a substantive contribution to peace, stability and cooperation. I sincerely believe that there is a way out of the current zero-sum game diplomacy, that pundits, journalists and even some experienced politicians still advocate on both sides of our border. We have truly intervened interests and interdependent economies. The refugee crisis and our joint fight against terrorism and violent extremism made the Western Balkans and the European experience their interdependence firsthand. It is crucial to translate this interdependence into an enhanced cooperation with the Western Balkans in order to help them successfully finalize the democratic state-building exercise. Albania and Greece can show the way. Thank you.